Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to the latest episode. This is our first episode, January of 2025. Excited to be here. Mike Schindler, your host with the Military Wire. And I've got an amazing guest that's on our show today. I'm so excited to introduce you to her. Before I get into her bio, into Miss Young's bio, which is absolutely impressive, I just want to say that I know some of you have been tracking the last series that we did. And we're going to be diving deeper into how my co-host kind of ran that series. I think we did about 14 episodes. I was on sabbatical, and we actually trained AI to be the host of my show for 14 segments, if you guys can believe that. So we named them Amanda and Hal. And I think some of you even preferred Amanda and Hal over me. So now I got to compete for my job again. But so we're going to be diving into that, and some of the guests that we have on the Military Wire, we're going to be talking about that. Like, how do you use that discernment? And I think one of our best guests that we're going to have on the show is Miss Young. And I just want to share a little bit of Tia's background with you guys. Brigadier General, which is absolutely impressive. For those of you who have served, you know the rank of Brigadier General. You've Miss Tia, you've had a very established, distinguished career. I mean, even so much the Deputy Commanding General for U.S. Army Human Resources Command at Fort Knox, Kentucky. That is great. And now you're the founder of LT3 Leadership Solutions, where you focus on leadership development and coaching. And I am just honored to have you here because we are big on mentoring and coaching those who are getting out. So, Miss Tia, welcome to the show.
It is great to be with you. As we starting off the new year as well, this was a big win.
It's a total big win, right? I mean, we're kicking it off, we're doing it right. And I got to be honest with you, like I'm a dad of daughters, so I've got two daughters who are both in college. And I love it when we are able to get female leaders on our show because, society seems to, well, this is a broad statement, but we oftentimes focus, or it really is still a male dominated, leadership. There's a lot of males who are in leadership. And I think, we would always say that, the man might be the head, but the woman is the neck, right? She turns the head, right? She makes things happen. And I want to kind of dive into this a little bit, is especially overcoming, your early career challenges, that's, especially for our audience, our female audience who might be elevating themselves through leadership roles. I mean, you face skepticism, as a woman, in the Army, number one, gaining in rank. How did you navigate and overcome these challenges? Like did you have a secret to doing it, or was it just grit? What was it?
Well, I wish I could say I had all the grit in the world and that's how I did it.
Yeah.
But the reality was, as I went through those experiences, I was blessed to have some senior non-commissioned officers that saw in me greatness and took me under their wing and taught me the S word. And know, for your audience, it's not the word you're thinking, but they taught me strategy and taught me how to maneuver in that space, because I had no idea as to what I was doing at that time. When we come into the military as junior officers, the mantra is, you're a junior officer, you should have milk behind the ears. They don't know anything. Although you have the title of being in charge, you're not leading anyone. So the biggest thing is really learning from your team. And I had an NCO, Sergeant First Class Bobby Harris, that took me under his wing and taught me strategy. And from there, I built upon what I learned from him to be able to maneuver in that space and get myself out of some interesting situations.
Interesting. So talk to me a little bit about this, because I think, you kind of key in on two things. Is number one, mentorship. So I think it's really what you're talking about, is really being like almost letting go the ego to some degree. Is that correct? And saying, hey, I'm willing to be mentored so that I can learn and grow. So is that what I hear you saying? Is it's really important as a leader, no matter the circumstance you're in, is to really seek out leadership?
I think it is. I think the important thing from my perspective is humility, right?
No,
I just come into a position, and I came into that position as the senior I have people that, have kids that were my age, but I was the one that was responsible for what happened and what failed to happen in meeting the mission. So I had to come into that situation, and I encourage others coming into positions where they are not the oldest, if you will, but they're the youngest on the team, but they have the responsibility to lead. It doesn't change by virtue of your age. Leading is leading and having the ability to influence others toward a positive gain. When I came into that position, I will tell you, when I initially came into it, there was no humbleness. It was, look, I'm a brand new spanking second lieutenant in the Army, and I am freaking in charge, baby.
Yeah.
And the one little snippet I tell you that opened my eyes that, hey, Tia, you're on the wrong track, is when I reported to the unit. I was told that I was going to be the S1 because my area of expertise is human resource.
Yeah.
I went into the office, reported in, and before I got into the office, I drove up and I saw that there was a parking space for the S1. I was like, I have arrived. I got my own parking space. This is awesome. Walked in, talked to a sergeant first class, told him that I was there, and I said, what, is there anything I need to do to make sure that, my parking space out front? And they were like, I'm sorry, ma'am, that parking space isn't yours. That's actually my parking space. You're going to be working behind the building in a unit. That opened my eyes.
Wow.
Say, what, Cletus? I said,
Yeah.
I got my parking space. What are you talking about? And I had to have humility in that moment. Say, okay. So I see that things have changed. And I went back around to the building where I actually worked. And it was like parking in Egypt. You try to get as close as you can so you didn't have to walk on those cold mornings. But I was in the midst of everyone. And that analogy of me thinking I was here to be humble, to have to go around the building, to now try to find a parking space wherever I could.
Yeah.
Into that office with a little bit more focus.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about humility, because I think, in today's era, right, we've got men and women who are getting out of the service, and you can certainly speak to this as well, where you've achieved greatness in uniform, and then you get ready to get out, and you're faced with it's a whole new marketplace, right? And especially with AI, like, things are changing every 4 months, sometimes every week. It's rapidly changing. So you come out, and I don't care if you're senior enlisted or if you're a senior officer, all of a sudden you get out and you're like, hey, I've commanded, I've had budgets, I've had all this stuff. I am an expert at what I do. And then you go to interview for jobs. And how hard is it to put on the humility, because you're like, man, I've done all these amazing things. And then you come, you're faced with some 20-something, 30-something HR person that looks at you and goes, listen, you're like I don't know what an O6 is. I don't know what any of this means. Right?
No, OG in the HR world. I think, I can only speak from my own experience.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I retired, and I was told prior to retirement, because I went through the transitional TAP program, and saying, because of the skill sets that you have, because of the rank that you've attained, people are going to be knocking down your door. And you're just going to be sitting, basically having it all come to you. Well, that is a lie. I had to put in the effort. I had to put in the work, the same way that I had to work and network and connect with people and share the value that I brought to the table, was the same thing that I've had to in the military, I've had to do in the civilian sector. And the reality of it was shocking that, oh my gosh, I've made it to this rank, and it's crickets.
Yeah.
Crickets. So I had to really hone in on what is it that I wanted to do. What was my purpose? What was my goal? Why was it my goal to do what I wanted to do? How was I thinking? No different than when I was in the military. How was I going to attain that goal? What was the value that goal was going to bring once I got it? And I had to recalibrate my mindset, and I had to recalibrate my speaking, because, in the military, we can speak in acronyms in a whole sentence and we all understand each other. But how was I going to transition that way of speaking to the civilian sector and still be able to get my point across and communicate the value that I brought to the table? So I've always encouraged military members that I mentor, coach, teach, and guide is, look, the military has a plethora of certifications that you can get under your belt. Make sure you get every certification you can in an area that you desire to make you more marketable on the civilian sector. And understand that you're going to have to give yourself some grace through the process as you transition.
Yeah, you touched on something which is interesting, which is purpose. How did you, when we're working with transitioning service members, oftentimes they're like, I don't even know what my purpose is. I mean, the military assigned my purpose, right? My purpose was to help save the world from bad people. And my mission was commander's intent. My identity was my rank and my uniform. And now all that's stripped away. And purpose, I mean, I've worked HR, or I've been infantry, or I've been, a pilot, and I definitely don't want to fly, cattle cars right? So how did you land on purpose? Like, is there a step? Because you're the founder of LT3 Leadership. You focus on leadership development and coaching. Are there ways that you guide people to discover their purpose?
Yes, I do. It's back to those 5 questions I was sharing earlier. I initially asked you, what is your goal?
Yeah.
Why is it your goal? How are you going to obtain that goal? What are you going to do with it once you obtain it? And what is the value that goal brings to the world and to society? As you walk yourself through those questions, really reflecting on it, it brings you and puts you on a path to start thinking about, what are you passionate about? I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy seeing a metamorphosis in someone's personal or professional life where they have garnered the ideas and come up with the solutions that I'm helping them kind of frame to meet their goals, to know that they can do it. But it requires that you have to really give some methodical thought into what makes you happy, what makes you get up in the morning. I know it sounds cliche, but what makes me get up in the morning is an opportunity to be able to see, where can I impact somebody's life for the better? Now that I get paid for it, that's even better. But the key thing is, what is that? It's a little selfish because I get to see the growth in someone, and I get to be a part of that, kind of like a fly on the wall, being able to see them change, see them grow, see them fall, get up, dust themselves off, try again, a new perspective, a new strategy. So how do you, answering those 5 questions starts you on that path, but it will end where you're passionate at. What ignites your fire? What do you have a burning desire to do? If you were queen or king of the world for a day and had all the money you needed, what would you do with it?
Yeah. It's, as you're sharing that, it's so interesting to me that, you rattle off those questions, right? And people are like, oh yeah, okay, what's my goal? And, they start to rattle that, but that takes work. Like, you're talking like that, really, like, what picks your head up off the pillow. And some people are like, well, if I just get a job, but you and I think both know the stats, like it's like 70% of the people are miserable in their jobs, right? They're pursuing this social purpose, what we call a social purpose. What can I bring to the marketplace, right? That I can get paid to do, that adds value to people's lives. There's a key component of that, though, is make sure that excites you. That's what you're talking about, is make sure that piece excites you. Do the work.
You're excited to share about what you do. You're excited to share your knowledge, skills, and abilities. And no matter who comes to talk to you about it, you have that same excitement. You have that same burning. I want to be able to share this knowledge with you, because I know if I get you to get the light bulb to come on, you're going to be better for it. And if you're better for it, you're going to be a better leader of those you lead in the office, as well as leading better at home. And that is the mission of LT3 Leadership Solutions. That is why I started the business, is because I enjoy seeing other people succeed. I've gone through a career of 33 years where competition was the name of the game.
Yeah.
That's how the reality of stepping that ladder, right? Yes, you're good at your craft, knowing your craft, but there's an element of some fierce competition in there. So to be able to now sit back and share some tidbits, some strategies, some insights of helping people really think through their decisions to be able to make a more informed decision to come to a better solution that's not only going to seed into their life, but seed into the organization to be better for the people that come in every day that just may be coming in to get a paycheck, that you, through your leadership, may be able to change their mindset where they're excited to come to work. Why? Because you're adding value and you're leading in a way what you want to be led, and you're treating them with dignity and respect.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really helping people find like this purposeful presence. Like when you show up, you understand what your purpose is, which I think the military was probably pretty good at that. Even helping the deckhand, like, me being Navy, helping the deckhand understand the importance of being a deckhand. I mean, it was still important. It might have not have been the sexiest job, but that's, some people did it. They had to do it and they understood that, hey, listen, this is kind of my domain. I think, as one of the Army's so diverse, right? You and I both can speak to that, right? Different religious backgrounds, different races, different, so many differences, even economic stratospheres that are pulled together. And, they figure out how to get this band of misfits to work together somehow and carry off some pretty big, amazing feats, which I think is just incredible. But what you're doing at LT3, I love what you're doing there. And I want to unpack that a little bit, but I really want to step back for a moment, and just say you were like one of the few African-American female generals coming through the ranks, like pretty amazing. So I've got to believe your perspective is probably different than mine in how people raised to ranks. How did that experience help shape who you are today, number one? And number two, how you administer or how you deploy your leadership development and coaching today?
I think that whole 33 years really shaped me to see different parts of me.
Yeah.
You get some settings, of course. How do I operate in war? How do I operate in a boardroom? How do I operate just in the day-to-day work setting? And because of, as we were talking about the humble beginnings, I come from humble beginnings. And my mom and dad never graduated from high school. I was the first generational student for my family. So there were a lot of firsts for me with a lot of pressure to make sure that I didn't mess it up.
Yeah.
I came into the military. I brought that with me, that same mindset and same focus that I had to be the best I could be at whatever I was doing. And along the way, and when I say I learned more about Tia, was in those years in the military, coming in initially, I thought it had to be perfect. I thought everything I had to do had to be solid, perfect, because not only because I was a female, because I was Black female, because I was short, stature, all of those things I had on my own shoulder. Now, some of the environment added to that, but I have to be honest, I brought some of that with me. Some of those insecurities with me myself. So learning through that process of learning Tia and her ability to be able to take something and take something that seemed to be nothing and make something out of it, of learning how to build trust, learning how to share and communicate your intent and your vision, your leadership philosophy, I found for me was mind blowing. And some may say, why would that be mind blowing? Because to learn how your leadership philosophy is built on your experiences. And through each experience, my leadership philosophy grew of what was important to me. And those things that were important to me, I began to share and seed that into the teams or organizations I had the honor to lead. One situation when I was a battalion commander at Fort Benning, Georgia, my commander didn't want me. I was
Mm.
like that Sesame Street thing. I was one of those things that didn't look like the other. I was the only female out of 22 battalion commanders. And he, I mean, I'm in an infantry unit, so go hard,
Yeah.
go hardcore. And
Yeah.
my unit are doing the mission of Cornish replacement of sending people to the war and getting them prepared administratively and training. And he just, for whatever reason, to this day, I can't tell you, other than I surmised I was just one of those things that didn't look like the other, as to why he didn't want me on his team. And then I had my sergeant major who told me, pulled me to the side and shared with me. He said, "Hey, Lieutenant Colonel, you are responsible for this unit, and you're responsible to make sure that we get the resources that we need to do our mission. And right now, you're falling flat." Because every meeting I would go into with this team, with this particular, as you would say in the civilian sector, executive person, senior executive, he belittled me. And he would say stuff to me like that. That's stupid. That'll never work. What do you mean? Is that the suggestion or recommendation you're giving me? Somebody else give me something because I don't understand what she's saying. And I went through that for a long time until I had that conversation with my CSM. And he said, back to that word, you're going to have to learn strategy. And I realized that my senior executive liked everything that my sergeant major would say because he had all the lovely badges. He was pathfinder, he was infantry, he was airborne. I was airborne too. I wasn't airborne. I was airborne, but he was, he was the master blaster, as we would call it. And I learned in that strategy that I would tell him what I wanted. I said, I'm going to tell you what I want. You're going to say it in a meeting. You're going to buy off on it. And we're going to walk out of there with the resources we need. And we played that senior executive that way for a whole year. Yeah. We needed. So it taught me how to be in a situation, how to survey the land, and how to come up with a strategy or possible solution to help me better lead my people. And that's always been my focus, is that I can do it. You can do it to me, but doing it to my people, that's like being on the playground and saying, you can talk about anything, but don't talk about my mom.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mentality that I've garnered through 33 years of how to protect my people. And to protect my people, I have to be the best I can be in that leadership role for them and for the organization.
Yeah. I mean, what it sounds like a pivotal moment, like a discovery moment, like an aha moment almost. You're like, wow, you know what? This is, like almost like OODA loop, right? Like observe, orient, decide, and act. And I think sometimes we, that orient piece, you almost have to start there, which is, it sounds like you figured that out, which is, okay, I got to orient myself to my environment, figure out who the players are, right? Then I can observe how the flow of information goes and how to be effective. That's the strategy part. Then we can make decisions and then we can act on them, right? I mean, I think that's so powerful. So what would you recommend to young women or even middle-aged women who are aspiring to be something greater? What would you like, and I don't care if it's in the military or in the civilian sector, like what's your recommendation to them? Because we are still in a male-dominated society, right? We got a lot of men that, regardless of color of skin, if it's a woman, they're like not going to pay attention, right? Because they're not open-minded necessarily. So what's your advice to them? Like how do they navigate that environment?
Well, first I'd say you got to be your own biggest cheerleader.
What do you mean by that? What
from your abilities?
Okay.
You have to make sure that you know your craft.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the table and I'm confident in my knowledge, skills, and abilities at that table. That's the first hurdle that I cross. The second hurdle that you cross is you have to have the right mentality. And when I say that, I'm talking about what I have garnered throughout my career and even now as a business owner is what I call, you got to have a P3 mentality. And to have a P3 mentality means you have to be persistent in your focus, that you're on the right track. You have the ability, the intellectual capacity to do your job either at the rate that others are or even better. But you're persistent to ensure others understand the value you bring to the table. Perseverance is the second P. And in that perseverance, you got to understand there are going to be days that are not always going to be sunshine.
Mm.
And those days that aren't sunshine, ask yourself, what am I to learn from this experience? As opposed to having a pity party, dive into it, dissect it, peel the onion back, and kind of step out the situation to really look at it to see what is it that you're supposed to be learning, or what new strategy you may come away with after observing your actions and the actions of the other individuals. And then number three, which is most important and the one that we have the hardest time dealing with, and that is give patience with the process. Give yourself patience, give yourself grace that you're not going to be able to do it all at once, but do it in a phased approach where you build up your leadership acumen to the area that you want to be able to go after that promotion or to be solidified and cemented in the position that you're in. So having a P3 mentality, a persistence, perseverance, and patience with the process. Then I will tell you, coupled with that is what I share about having a SID approach to leadership, which means that you have to be strategically focused, intentionally committed, and decisive and disciplined in your execution. And if you take that along with the P3 mentality, whatever goal that you're putting together or trying to attempt to achieve, or in the position that you're in, you can solidify yourself being confident in your abilities to lead that organization to where it needs to go. You know, the military puts us in positions all the time. Yes, I'm HR, but when I get into that position, it's not just HR that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing a plethora of other things that have been put on my plate. And you can't go into positions timid. That's why I say you have to be your own biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
You can accomplish the goals that have been set up before you.
Yeah. So do you work with, that's so good. I mean, so good. I love the P3s. I love Sid even. I mean, decisive. I think so many people question the things that they do, right? And so they're not decisive. So that probably looks like they're intimidated or they're not as confident. They've got a lot of uncertainty, which probably impacts why they're not getting promoted in many ways. But so do you work with big companies, small companies, individual clients? Like if somebody wanted to reach out to you, who do you take on as a client? How does that work?
Well, we take on all clients, honestly,
Okay.
because our focus, we're laser focused, and my passion is making better leaders. So leaders are in all organizations.
Yeah.
We're working in the corporate space with universities. I'm a professor at Bowie State University as a professor teaching on leadership development and conflict management. We work with churches, religious affiliated organizations. We speak on different platforms and stages, sharing information. So we do executive coaching one-on-one, which I love. I love doing the one-on-one,
Yeah.
seeing people's actually growing through the process. So we open our doors to all to be able to then take what it is that you're going after and then tailoring the services we provide to meet your needs. So it's not a one cookie cutter approach. It's being able to really get to know you and talk about and give you the space to be able to share what are the goals that you have, if for professional life or personally or within your organization of where you're wanting to go. And then helping you guide yourself through that process to get to that meeting of goal, if not exceeding that goal.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, Miss Tia, your experience, I mean, what you've accomplished over the 33 years, Brigadier General, facing the things, figuring out how to navigate the different environments, becoming a business owner. I mean, so what a rich experience, and the fact that you're giving back. I love that. Like you're owning your social purpose, right? You're like, man, this is what pulls my head up off the pillow. I can bring this to the marketplace. People pay me for it and it betters their life because of it. And I still have joy doing it. I mean, that in and of itself is like monumental. How do people find you? Where can they find you?
Well, you can go to LT3Leads.com. That's our website. You can find me on social media, on LinkedIn at twanda.young or on Facebook at twanda.young. You can give us a call. You can text LT3 to 704 769-1625. Plethora of ways of getting involved with us. We like doing community activities, paying it back through the community. So we're on a few boards. If I can give a shameless plug for Veterans Bridge Homes, that I'm on the board, and it helps with transitioning military members into the Charlotte area and the Piedmont area and the South Carolina area, but providing them resources and support to make a smoother transition from the military. But I would be honored to speak to anyone who wants to talk about leadership, wants to cultivate their leadership through their own self-awareness. I always say, don't commit adultery on yourself by not investing in yourself.
That's
So
good.
if you want to invest in yourself, you want to have a partner on the journey, then LT3 Leadership Solutions is a partner for you.
That is so great. And that's not a shameless plug. I love that organization. As a matter of fact, one of my board members, Admiral Rick Gromlich, is very familiar with that organization. And we talk about that organization a lot. So you guys are doing some great work out there in the Charlotte area for sure. It's so good. Well, I'm going to encourage my audience to certainly reach out to you. And for my audience, you guys know Operation Military Family. We really do dive into the mission, purpose, identity piece of who you are when that uniform comes off. And it's so important. And the work that Miss Tia is doing is so, so important. And if you're a rising star getting out or just getting in and really wanting to understand, how do I take my leadership to the next level, I'm going to highly recommend that you reach out to Tia and her organization. Brigadier General is not easy to get to. For those of you who know, especially as a woman, even in the military, we like to say that, that doesn't matter anymore, but I know for sure it still matters. And she did it. And I think you can learn from her experience. So please be sure you check those guys out at LT3 Leadership. And for sure, if we can ever be of service to you guys in our audience at the Military Wire, please reach out to us at Operation Military Family, and just know that we've got your back. It's one team, one mission, and one world, and we're committed to help and serve you. So again, Miss Tia, thank you for being on the show.
Now, thank you for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit of my story and ideas and expertise. And I commend you for the work that you're doing, and I encourage you to continue, because what you're doing matters and it's important and it's bringing value to the world. So thank you for allowing me to be on your platform.
Of course.